All right, what's good? Welcome back to the channel. We're officially kicked off to week one is complete. So we're going to get into our first weekly scheduled program. I've decided what we're going to do. We're going to do a rapid fire start sit on Thursday afternoon. So you'll be able to catch that right before the game and then leading into the weekend. And then we're going to do Sunday morning streams before the games. We'll put some pick'ems in. We'll do some DraftKings. We're just going to get involved. We're going to be looking at all things football all year long, twice a week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we're just going to go ahead right away and kick off our start sit rapid fire. I was trying to come up with something that I enjoy doing and that you guys will find beneficial. And one thing I don't love doing is making 3 start sit videos, ranking videos. I don't hate it. It's just I don't really have time to edit videos, put those videos out in a timely manner, and get them to you where you can still use them. So we're going to do this rapid fire. And honestly, I think a lot of times when people are going through start sit videos, they really just want to know all the players that relate to them as quick as possible. And it really is just about the reassurance to kind of confirm that they're making the right decision. So we're going to respect that. And we're just going to go right ahead and do a rapid fire start sit for this week. One thing I didn't really realize is that we have 2 Monday night games this week. So shout out to the NFL for doing that on our second week of football. Love that. But we're just going to go ahead and get right into it for tonight's game. Started with the Los Angeles Chargers. This was pretty easy just because of how good of an offense this is. Justin Herbert, feel confident starting him. He's your stud. Austin Eckler, he had a slow week this past week with only 10 points, but look for that role to increase with Keenan Allen being out. So you can go ahead and start Austin Eckler, bench Sony Michel, and Josh Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, everyone else in the backfield in Los Angeles. We're going to start Mike Williams confidently. He, again, slow start to his year. I have him personally, which is why you see him highlighted in blue right here. But we're not going to let that bother us. We knew what we were signing up for with Mike Williams. He's going to be a very volatile player. So especially in a week where Keenan Allen is out, we're going to go ahead and start Mike Williams. I know Keenan Allen was out most of the last game, but the game plan involved him leading up to that game. Here they had some time to game plan without him. Knowing that they weren't going to have him. So we're going to have Mike Williams as a hard start. Josh Palmer is a deep start. If you're in a 12-team league and you're looking for a flex spot, feel free to start Josh Palmer if you're feeling lucky and you feel high on him. But personally, I wouldn't do it. Jalen Guyton, bench. DeAndre Carter, bench. Gerald Everett, firm start, and I am also starting him. There's probably about 10 teams that have tight ends they don't really have to think about, and then you have a couple, and I'm one of them in one of my leagues that you're going to have to stream. And again, for the same reasons we like Mike Williams this week, we like Gerald Everett. Everyone else you can bench. Going over to Kansas City, we're looking at Patrick Mahomes, easy start. CEH, I think you can start as a flex. I know he had a hot start, still not high on CEH, so if you need to, you can start him, and if you drafted him, you probably need to. But if you have a better wide receiver to throw in on your flex or a better running back to throw in as your RB2, I would do that. I don't love CEH, but I will say this matchup is going to be a offensive shootout, so he is going to have opportunities. I just don't like CEH as a player. I don't like his rushing opportunities of last week. He caught 2 touchdowns, so his score looked really good, but I'm still out on CEH, and if you've seen the channel, you know I don't love him. Isaiah Pacheco, pick him up for your bench if you can, but I wouldn't start him. Same with Jerick McKinnon. Moving down to the wide receivers, Juju's going to be the only person you can start with confidence. You can start MVS in your flex if you're desperate, but everyone other than Juju, bench if you have the option. MVS is the only one I would consider in the flex. The rest, you can sit. Sky Moore is a player you're going to hold on to for later in the season. Travis Kelce, obvious start. Buccaneers, Tom Brady, I would bench if you can. I really don't love the way he's looking this year. I don't love his offensive line. It's notably better or worse than last year. So if you can, bench Tom Brady. No rushing upside. Bad offensive line. Bench him if you can. Leonard Fournette, if he plays, obviously start him. If he doesn't, start Rachaad White, and then vice versa. If Leonard Fournette does not play, or if Leonard Fournette does play, you bench Rachaad White and the rest of the running backs. Your wide receivers, you start Mike Evans, you start Julio Jones in the flex if you can, and the rest you can bench. Being that Chris Godwin is out, Julio Jones is enticing. Julio Jones looked really good in his first game with the Buccaneers. He did look a little bit concerned as far as age. He would kind of grimace every time he got up from a play, but he performed. He's looking good. He's running routes hard, so you can start Julio Jones with confidence in your flex. Bench all tight ends. New Orleans. Let's see. Jameis Winston, he's a good flyer. So if you are a team that drafted Tom Brady, I would prefer Jameis Winston on the start over Tom Brady, to be honest with you. So I could see the case for starting Jameis Winston. Odds are you have a better choice, but if you don't, Jameis Winston's a fine start. And Alvin Kamara is going to be our first trade target of the day. He had a really slow start to the season last week. And honestly, he's not going to be the Alvin Kamara that he's always been because there are so many cooks in the kitchen now. There's so many targets between Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson, Adam Trout. I mean, everyone is getting touches. Even Mark Ingram was getting touches. So Alvin Kamara is not going to be your league winner. But if you can get someone to sell him to you for the cheap, then go ahead and grab Alvin Kamara as a trade target. Michael Thomas is trade bait for me. I actually just traded him in one of my leagues. I traded him and Antonio Gibson for Joe Mixon. So Michael Thomas is trade bait in my opinion. I think he had a really good week, and I think he will have more good weeks. But I don't think it's going to be consistent. I think some weeks you're going to have Jarvis Landry go crazy. Some weeks you're going to have Chris Olave go crazy. Excuse me. Hey, I'm trying to shoot a video here. Sorry about that. The underdogs are getting crazy. Where were we? Okay, Michael Thomas, you can start. I'm assuming you don't have better options, so go ahead and start Michael Thomas. However, he did get taken in the later rounds, so if you have someone that you're comfortable in the flex over Mike Thomas, then you can bench him, but I would suggest starting Michael Thomas this week. Jarvis Landry, I would stay away from if you have the opportunity. If not, throw him in, but I would mark him as a sit. Chris Olave is still a sit for me as well. All tight ends will be a sit in this one. New York Jets. Joe Flacco, start comfortably. Psych. Bench Joe Flacco. Bench Breece Hall. Bench Michael Carter if you have the opportunity. If you need to start Breece Hall, you can. He did get plenty of receptions with minimal touches. His touches are going to continue to go up. His targets are going to continue to go up. He was actually the leading receiver on this offense last week against my Baltimore Ravens. So if you need to start Breece Hall, you can. But if you have the opportunity to sit him and wait for him to develop throughout the year, that would be ideal. I would start, let's say, a Jeff Wilson over Breece Hall this week. Elijah Moore, you can start in this matchup. He got plenty of targets, but I will say this offense was a lot more spread out than we were expecting. Garrett Wilson was getting a lot of opportunities. Corey Davis was getting a lot of opportunities. Michael Carter, Breece Hall. I mean, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen here. So, honestly, this whole game, if you have the opportunity to start people over players in this game, do it. The only two that I would say you can start relatively comfortable is Elijah Moore and Breece Hall. And I say Breece Hall because odds are you drafted him very high in the draft and you might not have another opportunity. So if you need to start Breece Hall, don't worry about it too much. You're going to be fine. I'm benching Michael Carter. I'm benching Corey Davis. I'm benching Garrett Wilson and all tight ends. Cleveland Browns, we are benching quarterbacks. We are starting Nick Chubb. We can start Kareem Hunt in the flex if you have the option. He's not going to score as many points as he did last year. His touchdown efficiency was very high compared to the amount of opportunities that he did have, but they're pretty much the entire offense right now. So you can start Kareem Hunt in your flex if that's necessary. Amari Cooper, bench, DPJ, bench, and David Njoku, you can start, but I would bench. There's plenty of other options on the waiver wire. Don't start him. There's plenty of other options. You can get a Gerald Everett. You can get a Logan Thomas. You can get an Albert O. You can get a Robert Tonyan, etc. So I would stash David Njoku for later on in the year when he develops a little bit and when Deshaun Watson comes back. I'm stashing Amari Cooper in one of my leagues. You can see here, but pretty much everyone in this matchup is a bench or sit, other than Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Miami Dolphins. Benching Tua. Starting a pinch. Starting Chase Edmonds. Starting Tyreek Hill. Starting Jalen Waddle. Benching everyone else. Not much to be said there. Ravens, we are starting Lamar Jackson. We are benching all running backs, and we are going to start Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. Nothing really changed here, so nothing much to talk about. If you're looking at Devin Duvernay for a start, I would give it a week. I know he had a big week last week with 2 touchdowns, but it was only on 3 opportunities. So give it another week to see that volume come up. I would stash him on your bench, but I would not start him this week. New England Patriots, oh, God. Bench everybody. Everybody. Don't even have to look at it. You can start Hunter Henry, but again, it's kind of like a David Njoku situation. There's plenty of other options, so just bench everyone here. They looked horrible. You start Damian Harris because you have to probably. Don't even try starting Ramondre Stevenson. I have him on my bench. But to be honest, if you have a better option than Damian Harris, just start him. Jacoby Myers, you could probably get away with starting as well, but I honestly think there's plenty of other options. There was a really big waiver wire week this week, so you probably have better options than this offense. I'm shying away from this offense until they have their stuff straightened out. They had struggles even in preseason against second stringers moving the ball with their starting lineup. So if you can avoid the Patriots until they show us otherwise, just do it. And Pittsburgh Steelers defense had a really good showing last week, so there's no reason to start these players. Pittsburgh Steelers, okay. Bench Mitchell Trubisky. Najee Harris, honestly, unfortunately, he is in question as a sit. You're not going to sit him because you probably can't. He's not, last week he did not look great. He was dealing with an ankle injury. I forget what they call it, like a Liz Frank injury. But you're starting Najee Harris. It's with a little bit of nerves behind that. You're not comfortable here, but you're going to start Najee Harris because of the draft capital. You are starting Deontay Johnson. He got his unlimited amount of targets as usual. So we were curious to see if that was going to happen with Mitch Trubisky, and it did. And it's just because he's open. So start Deontay Johnson. Bench Chase Claypool. Stash George Pickens. Start Pat Freiermuth if you can. Pat Freiermuth is one of those, he's a tight end that's not as high up as your Dallas Goederts, but he's probably right below Dallas Goedert or in the same range. He got a decent amount of volume, so he's a tight end trade target in my league where I'm scavenging for tight ends. So you can start Pat Freiermuth with comfort based off of, because if you are looking at Pat Freiermuth, that means you don't have an elite tight end. So he's probably one of the better options that you do have. So if you have Pat Freiermuth, give him a start. Washington Commanders. You can start Carson Wentz, surprisingly enough. He had a really good week last week. I will say everyone was eating on this team, so it was a very favorable matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So don't expect it to repeat itself too heavily here. There's not going to be it is against the Lions. It is against the Lions. Okay. So, yeah, start Carson Wentz. I think there was definitely over 60 points scored in the game between the Eagles and the Lions last week. So you can start Carson Wentz. He did well. Start Antonio Gibson until Brian Robinson gets back. Bench J.D. McKissick. Start Terry McLaurin, but this is trade bait. I would get rid of Terry McLaurin while you can. I think that there's a lot more distribution in this offense than there once was. He's not a one-man show anymore. Jahan Dotson's eaten. Curtis Samuel has 11 targets and 4 rushing opportunities. So start Terry McLaurin, but look for a trade destination. You can start Curtis Samuel based off of the volume. I would still stash Jahan Dotson. And then Logan Thomas falls into that tight end range of your Albert O's, your Robert Tunyons, your Jared Everetts. If you want to start Logan Thomas based off of volume, go for it. I thought about it. Detroit Lions, you're benching Jared Goff. You're starting DeAndre Swift. You're benching Jamal Williams, but stashing. You're going to start Amon-Ra St. Brown very confidently. I love the targets we're seeing here. Almost 7 to 8 games now where he's had over 10 targets and over 20 fantasy points if you span back into last season. So obviously you're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can start DJ Chark if you want to. I would prefer to bench him if you have other options. Everyone else in the wide receiver room, you're benching. TJ Hockenson, you are starting. Colts, benching quarterbacks. If you need to stream Matt Ryan, he's kind of in that Carson Wentz tier, that Tua tier. But I would start both those players over Matt Ryan. So if you have the option between Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa, Carson Wentz, I would start any of them over Matt Ryan. If you have to, you can start Matt Ryan, but I wouldn't be very comfortable about it. You're probably looking at 13 to 20 points max. Jonathan Taylor, start. Nyheim Hines, you can start if you are an Elijah Mitchell team and you need a running back. He did get a lot of passing volume, but bench him if you can. Michael Pittman, you're starting comfortably, although I did just see that he missed practice today. I don't think that's anything to be concerned of since it's the first time we've heard about it, but I will say check your phone before your lineups lock in on Sunday and make sure that he's going to be on the field. Because if he's on the field, you're starting him. All other wide receivers looked horrible. Bench. Tight ends, bench. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Colts. Trevor Lawrence, you are benching James. Okay, this one's actually tough because I have James Robinson and Travis Etienne in the same league, and this might be controversial. Here, but I'm starting Travis Etienne over James Robinson. I think what happened was Travis Etienne was out touching James Robinson early. He goes in, he fumbles, he drops a fourth down touchdown catch, a guaranteed touchdown catch, and then he gets pulled for the rest of the game. It was against the Commanders. They had a reasonable chance to win, so they weren't trying to chance it on Travis Etienne's first professional start. So I think he choked a little bit, and they pulled him out just to salvage the game. I don't think they're changing their entire viewpoint on Travis Etienne. And even with the game that he had, he still had 10 points because of the work in the receiving game that he does have. He only had 4 carries, but I think that goes up this week. And I think he's a little bit more efficient on his touches. So I personally will be starting Travis Etienne over James Robinson. But just to give you an idea of how I feel about those players, I have Chase Edmonds as well. And if I can sit Travis Etienne for Chase Edmonds, I will do that. But between these two, I'm starting Travis Etienne. If you want to make a case for James Robinson, I understand. He looked great coming off that Achilles injury. But I just feel like the receiving upside in a full PPR league gives Travis Etienne a higher floor. Christian Kirk, man, start him. You had 12 targets. I think it was 12 targets. Start him, easy. Marvin Jones sit. Zay Jones pick up from waivers, but stash. Evan Ingram you can start if you are really feeling like it and you're pulling for Evan Ingram. He was lining up as a wide receiver. He is a target for Trevor Lawrence, but preferably you're benching Evan Ingram as well. Carolina Panthers, New York Giants. Carolina Panthers, we're going to go right into it. Baker Mayfield, hard bench. Horrible. Christian McCaffrey, start, but we're nervous. DJ Moore, start, but we're nervous. Robbie Anderson, you can start because he had 8 targets, but I would grab him from the waiver wire, stash him for another week, see what those targets look like this week, and not really risk that opportunity. If you're in a deeper league, you can start him, but if you can bench him, play a player that you drafted above him that is a little higher of a floor. See what happens this week, and if his targets are still up there, then next week you can start him with confidence. New York Giants, we are grabbing Daniel Jones off the waiver wire, stashing him. If you're someone that drafted Dak Prescott and no other quarterback, go ahead and pick up Daniel Jones for the rushing upside. He does have pieces around him, or at least it looks like it so far. So you can grab him and play him if you need to. Saquon Barkley, don't need to say anything there. Hard start. All wide receivers bench, all tight ends bench. Where were we? Giants. Here we go. Falcons, Rams. Falcons, Marcus Mariota, bench. Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson. He's one of those players that, he had a big week, but Damian Williams was out touching him before he got injured. But I'm okay with starting Cordero Patterson if you have to as an RB2 or a flex. I would prefer to bench him, but I can't make a strong case. I think he's kind of a similar. You can think of him almost like a Kareem Hunt. Like he was really efficient with his touches, but his touches aren't guaranteed. So think of him like a Kareem Hunt. Start him in your flex if you need to, if you're in a 12-team league. Drake London, you can start. I like the way he looked. He got plenty of opportunities. He looked quick, and he's being looked at by Marcus Mariota. And this was in last week's game. of the Falcons was a rush-heavy game script, which is why Kyle Pitts had a poor first game, but look for those numbers to go up for both Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So I'm okay with you starting Drake London and Kyle Pitts this week going up against the Rams. Looking over at the Rams, we have Matt Stafford. You're starting him. He had a bad week last week, but he was up against the best defense in the league. So start Matt Stafford. Start Darrell Henderson in your flex if you have the opportunity. If Elijah Mitchell was on your team or someone or even Cam Akers was on your team, you're going to start Darrell Henderson in your RB2 if you need to, but preferably you can put him in your flex. I think I'm playing him in one of my double flex leagues. Currently, Cam Akers we're benching, but we're not dropping. I know a lot of people get really nervous. He put up 0 points. Darrell Henderson out-touched him all game, but don't drop him just yet. People get a little bit too antsy on the waiver wire. Someone dropped Amari Cooper, so I picked him up. People overreact in week 1, so calm down a little bit. Hang on to Cam Akers, but start someone over him. Cooper Kupp, start. Allen Robinson, I'm not starting him, but you can. I was never high on Allen Robinson, so I'm not going to make that bet. But a lot of people were really high on Allen Robinson this year, and I will remind you that Robert Woods took a few games to get started with Matt Stafford last year. So Allen Robinson is doomed by no means. So if you're one of the Allen Robinson truthers, go ahead and start him this week and hope for that bounce back, kind of like a Mike Williams type player. And again, if you're an Allen Robinson truther, this is another trade target. I forgot to hit the button for Mike Williams. Again, trade target. Slow week. Good player. Trade target. Tyler Higbee, you can start if you're one of those teams struggling at the tight end position. He had a ton of targets, so go ahead and start Tyler Higbee if you have the opportunity with comfort. Seattle Seahawks, surprising win on Monday night. I was if I was a betting man, which I am, but I didn't bet on this game. If I did bet on this game though, I would have bet on a blowout. I needed a blowout in my fantasy leagues. I can't believe they won. So that being said, nobody's startable here. Nah, I lied. Let me think about this. Hold on. 49ers, honestly, you can start Rashad Penny. We saw what he could do at the end of last year, so you can start him, but I would not be comfortable about it. He's kind of a boom-bust player this week. I think he either gets you 25 points or he gets you another 7. So if you need to, you have no better options. You can start Rashad Penny over someone like Jeff Wilson, I will say. I would much prefer Rashad Penny over Jeff Wilson, but if you have other opportunities, then go ahead and start Rashad Penny. I keep using Jeff Wilson as an example because he was the number 1 waiver wire pickup this past week. He's the new starting running back in the San Francisco 49ers backfield. I didn't pick him up. I passed up on him to grab Amari Cooper because I think season long, Amari Cooper is far more valuable. But that's where I am with Rashad Penny. Stash Ken Walker. Start DK Metcalf. Not very comfortable, but I do think he is a player you're going to start, and you can feel mildly comfortable that you'll get at least 10 points. He has a higher floor, so I think... I'm trying to think of who I would start him over. I would start him over Elijah Moore. That's the bar that we're setting here. I don't love it, but you can start DK Metcalf. He's always capable of that big play. So he's 170-yard touchdown away from making your entire fantasy week. He's always capable of that. Same with Tyler Lockett. I kind of think of them as in the same breath here. Put them neck and neck in the rankings. I think Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are really looking for that big play. You were not going to see methodical marches down the field every week. There was a lot of emotion behind last week, so look for that to simmer down a little bit. But you're starting DK Metcalf. You're starting Tyler Lockett if you have no better options. But I kind of see them as the same player this week. Noah Fant, we're benching. 49ers. We're starting Trey Lance. We're going to give him another week. I'm starting Trey Lance in one of my leagues. I'm giving him another week. That game was kind of a throwaway. If you didn't see the game last week with Chicago Bears, it was a rain out. I'm not going to say that makes up for everything because the Bears still got enough done to win. But there's a lot of rush attempts out of Trey Lance, so you can start him, and I will be starting him. Jeff Wilson, start if you need to, but Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel are going to vulture touchdowns at the goal line, so I wouldn't feel comfortable starting Jeff Wilson. But again, if you need to, running back is one of those positions that gets thinned out fast. People hoard them. It's hard to get your hands on a usable running back. So if that's the case for you, you can go ahead and start Jeff Wilson, but I'm definitely not comfortable there. You're starting Deebo Samuel. You can start Brandon Ayuk. I'll say it like this. You can start Brandon Ayuk. You can definitely start Brandon Ayuk. But that's kind of all I'll give it. It's just I preferably in one of my leagues I have Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk. I'm starting Trey Lance. I'm benching Brandon Ayuk, but that's because I have better options. I have a Juju, I have a Cortland, I have a Jalen Waddle, and AJ Dillon. So I'm starting all those players over Brandon Ayuk. But again, if it's a deeper league, you can start Brandon Ayuk. And again, same thing applies. The passing game was trash last weekend for the 49ers offense. So that's kind of your case for Brandon Ayuk if you want to look for that. And Deebo will be using the running game quite a bit. So Brandon Ayuk might be the number one target for those plays that Deebo Samuel is in the backfield. Unless George Kittle is back. If George Kittle is back, we're starting him with confidence, obviously. Okay, moving on to the Bengals. This team is super easy. Joe Burrow. Who are we playing here? Bengals, Dallas Cowboys. Oof. Start Joe Burrow. Start Joe Mixon. Start Jamar Chase. Start T. Higgins. If T. Higgins isn't playing, you can start Tyler Boyd. If T. Higgins is playing, bench Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst, you can start if you're a struggling tight end team, but I would prefer Logan Thomas. I would prefer Gerald Everett. I would prefer Robert Tonyan. Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Cooper Rush, bench. Zeke, bench. Tony Pollard, bench. Hard bench. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want my Zeke truthers coming in here. Don't talk to me. I am out on Zeke. I've been drafting Tony Pollard in best ball drafts. He looked bad. His usage looked bad. Just bench the backfield in Dallas. The team's going to be worse overall getting the ball to the red zone. So Zeke is a touchdown dependent running back, and they're not going to be at the goal line very often. So double bench. And this is where I will get some pushback. Trade target. We're looking at CeeDee Lamb. We're going to grab him. Now, I will say, if you want to wait it's looking like Dak Prescott's going to be 4 to 6 weeks with his thumb. If you want to wait for 3 weeks and trade for him then, you can. But I think people are overreacting. I think this is crazy to me. We've been ranking CeeDee Lamb in the second round of drafts all season, the early second round and underdog all season. We have one bad game where he got targeted 11 times. He got targeted 11 times, and we're backing completely out already. This is a complete overreaction. I've seen major podcasts, I've seen major YouTube channels saying, out on CD, don't start him, trade him away, panic. No, just relax. Just relax. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He had a bad game. He had 11 targets. He's the only wide receiver. Michael Gallup is about to come back, which will help free him up a little bit. He had some drop balls. We've seen what he can do last year. He's a young player. This is the first time he is a wide receiver 1 on America's team. So give him the same grace period you would give a rookie in the jitters category. He had a little bit of jitters. He dropped some balls. It was a horrible game all around. The whole offense looked bad. It's not going to look like that all season long. They're going to have some production, even with Cooper Rush. So I will be starting CeeDee Lamb this week, and I am actively looking to grab someone freaking out on CeeDee Lamb. And I'm going to try to I've offered to trade for CeeDee Lamb, and I offered up like Jeff Wilson, Rashad Penny, and like, who was it? And like Elijah Moore, and it's looking good. So, I mean, you can lump together some bench players. If you're not deep on running back, don't do what I did. Don't offer up 2 running backs that can be usable for you. But I'm really deep in that team. I'm willing to give up some running backs that are on my bench for CeeDee Lamb. I think he looks fine this year as a full season perspective, zoomed out perspective, macro perspective. Don't overreact. Trade for CeeDee Lamb. for cheap. Don't trade him at a second round value. Don't give him someone in the third round for him. Package together some players that had a good first week. Package Kareem Hunt with Elijah Moore and go and get CeeDee Lamb. Stash Michael Gallup. Everyone else bench. Dalton Schultz. Start. Okay, sorry, I was a little tangent. The CeeDee Lamb hate is insane to me for someone that got 11 targets. I watched the game. I know how it went. I don't need the truth go ahead and throw your argument in there. You can join. You can be one of the sheep. That's fine. I don't get it. He's the number one receiver on the Cowboys. They had a bad first week. Even bad quarterbacks still put up numbers sometimes. Get CeeDee Lamb if you can. Texans, benching quarterbacks, benching running backs. Scoop Rex Burkhead. Keep Dameon Pierce on your roster. Don't drop him just yet. I know Rex Burkhead out-touched him quite a bit, but Dameon Pierce is a rookie. It takes some time to get up to speed. Keep Dameon Pierce on your bench. Don't start. Rex Burkhead, you can pick up on the waivers if you're desperate at running back. You can use him as a trade piece if you need to. You start Brandon Cooks, you bench everyone else. O.J. Howard had a really big first week. It was on 3 targets, 2 touchdowns. Touchdown efficiency won't stay that high. Don't pick up O.J. Howard, and don't start him. Denver Broncos are going to be angry. Russell Wilson, you can start. Javonte Williams, you're starting. Hard starting. I've been trying to get Javonte, but I think he was a lead. He was definitely the most targeted player on this team. I think he was the most targeted running back on the week as well. He had 12 targets and 11 receptions. That's 11 points right there, regardless of yards and touchdowns. He would have had even more points if he didn't fumble on the goal line and he went in for that touchdown. So go ahead and start Javonte with these. Bench Melvin Gordon. You can start him if you're a very shallow team with no depth, but bench Melvin Gordon if you can. You should be able to. Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy both start. KJ Hamler, bench. Albert O, start. If you're in that weird, awkward Robert Tonyan, Gerald Everett range like I am, you can start Albert O. He had a good amount of target share. Russell Wilson was looking his way, so feel free to start Albert O if you're feeling that way. I definitely considered it. Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, we're starting. James Conner, we're starting. Eno Benjamin, we're stashing. Marquise Brown, we're starting. Rondale Moore, you can start Rondale Moore. He was out last week. He's going to free up Marquise Brown a little bit this week, so there's a little diversion. Last week, there was basically no one but Marquise Brown and Zach Ertz. Rondale Moore will be back. Look for him to get involved. I think it'll open up the offense as a whole. So if you want to start Rondale Moore, I'm okay with it. Zach Ertz, you're starting. AJ Green, you're benching. Greg Dortch, don't show. I know he had some targets. I know, whatever. Don't start him. Don't even pick him up. Arizona Cardinals versus Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr, bench if you can. You probably can. Bench if you can. If you can't, I mean, you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get 15 to 23 points. So if that's what you need out of quarterback, if you punt the quarterback late in your draft, you don't have a Russian upside quarterback, you can start Derek Carr. I see him as a Kirk Cousins. I see him as a Tom Brady. Start him if you need to. Start him if you waited late in the draft for a quarterback. If you have another option, start someone else. Josh Jacobs. Start. You can start Josh Jacobs. But don't, if you have, I don't know. You probably get 10 points out of him. Probably get 10 points. So if you need that and there's no better option, then you can start him. If you have the opportunity. If there's someone on your bench like an Elijah Moore, I would start Elijah Moore over Josh Jacobs. Elijah Moore is kind of that fringe bench starter, that trade piece. He's that fringe player that I keep thinking of because he's on all of my teams. So I think he's a good idea of where I'm sitting on these players. So Elijah Moore would get started over Josh Jacobs. Drake London would get started over Josh Jacobs. Chase Edmonds would get started over Josh Jacobs. Devontae Adams, start. Hunter Renfrow, bench if you can. There was like 30 to 40% target share for Devontae Adams. And if it's going to continue that way, you're benching Hunter Renfrow. I know the Hunter Renfrow truthers are going to be after me, but unfortunately, it's the reality. I can't roll him out there until I see more targets go his way. Darren Waller, you're starting. He was a tight end that lined up outside as a wide receiver the most out of all tight ends last week at like 80%. So that's something you want to see as in the tight end position. So even though the targets weren't necessarily there, we're going for Darren Waller as a start. No questions asked. Chicago Bears, this is ugly. This is the opposite side of the game in San Francisco. No, I think it was in Chicago, actually. But it was Chicago versus 49ers. We were talking about how ugly that game was as far as weather goes. So you can start Justin Fields with upside. Like, I'd rather start a Justin Fields over a Derek Carr just because the rushing upside can make up for any interceptions that he does throw. Who's he playing? I know he's playing Green Bay. No, we're benching. We're benching Justin Fields if we can. Green Bay's going to be pissed. And their defense, I think their defense is way better than they showed last week. I mean, they did go up against probably one of the better offenses in the league. A brand new offense at that. So bench Justin Fields if you can. This Bears backfield is really scary. I would sell David Montgomery if you can. Khalil Herbert looked way better. I think he had less touches with more yards. So if you can, bench David Montgomery, but odds are you probably can't. And if you drafted him in the first place, you probably like his outlook. So you're looking for a bounce back this week, but I will say there is a little bit of concern in this backfield. So start David Montgomery. If you have an opportunity to start someone like an A.J. Dillon over David Montgomery, definitely do that. But I think David Montgomery has an opportunity to give you a little bit of a bounce back game with a touchdown. Khalil Herbert, we're stashing from the waiver wire if he's still available. Darnell Mooney, slow first game. Don't worry about it. Start him. Everyone else, you bench. Cole Kmet, you're starting. If you drafted Cole Kmet as your tight end 1, big goose egg, looks horrible, but kind of same thing with Darnell Mooney. And it was an ugly game. Let's give him another chance. The targets were there last season, so we're starting Cole Kmet if we drafted him as our tight end 1. Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers. Rough first game. He owns the Bears. Start. Aaron Jones, you're definitely starting. Not much to be said there, but I'm a little nervous if I'm an Aaron Jones owner. Just because, not that he's going to be a useless player, but he is going to regress from previous years, and he's not going to give you the value, or he's not going to give you a return on the value where you took him. He's not going to give you second round value. But he's still a very valuable player that you're going to start, especially at the running back position. And A.J. Dillon is going to be our next trade target. Trade for him if you can. I know it's buying high. He had 20 points, but he was a lead receiver. He had the most touches in the backfield. He could be this new lead running back in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, and they had a bad game last week, and he still put up 20 points. We're starting A.J. Dillon, and we're shopping for A.J. Dillon. I don't care what it takes. I'm trying to give you an idea of what I offer for A.J. Dillon. I offered Chase Edmonds and Rashad Penny for A.J. Dillon. That's kind of where I'm at. So, A.J. Dillon, trade target. All wide receivers I'm benching. All of them. We're benching all of these guys. Ugly. If you had to start one, I would go Christian Watson. A lot of people go Romeo Doubs. Everyone else, I can't get behind. If Allen Lazard is starting, I'm not sure if he is or not. If he's starting, you can start. If he is playing, you can start him. Continue to monitor Lazard's practice reports this week. Revisit his spot. Pecoor, Pat. Okay, so if he plays, you're definitely starting him. And then Robert Tonyan, again, awkward range. Pick your poison. Gerald Everett, Alberto, Robert Tonyan. Kind of all in the same for me. At this point in the season, anyways. All right, first Monday night game of the doubleheader. This is so cool. I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure they've done it, but I don't remember last time they did this, so... Shout out to the NFL for giving us 2 games on Monday. Starting with the Titans, Ryan Tannehill, we're benching. Derrick Henry, we're starting. Dontrell Hillard, I'm not even picking him up on waivers, to be honest with you. I'm not interested. I know he had a big game, but it was on not that many opportunities, so I'm not even looking at Dontrell Hillard yet on waivers. Treylon Burks, we're benching, but we're monitoring. He's looking good. You can pick up Kyle Phillips on the waivers if you need to. Robert Woods, you can even... I wouldn't drop Robert Woods just yet, but I'm not starting him. Not starting him. I'm not starting any of these wide receivers, but Treylon Burks is the most enticing for me. Austin Hooper, bench. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, start. This is easy. Josh Allen, start. Devin Singletary, flex. James Cook, Zach Moss, sit. Stephon Diggs, start. Gabe Davis, start. But look to trade away. Never been a Gabe Davis fan. He was very efficient. I think he's going to be a decent receiver, but I think other people are higher on Gabe Davis than I am. So if I can package Gabe Davis and someone else for a... Let me think. Gabe Davis. I would do Gabe Davis and Jeff Wilson for Keenan Allen. He'll miss another game. Someone's going to not want to hold on to him for the injury. They're going to need that running back in Jeff Wilson. And maybe they're the Elijah Moore or the Elijah Mitchell owner. Give him Jeff Wilson. Give him Gabe Davis. Take Keenan Allen return. It's kind of where I'm at. We're benching Isaiah McKenzie. We can stash him on the bench if we want to. I'm not a believer. I think Jameson Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie are going to split the slot role, so neither one of them are going to be valuable for me, and I'm benching Dawson Knox. Minnesota versus Philadelphia Eagles. This is a good game. Kirk Cousins, start. I like the way he looked. I like the way this offense looked. Start. Dalvin Cook, don't freak out. Slow first game. This will also be a trade target. Go to the owner of Dalvin Cook. Ask what it's going to take to get him from them. He scored 10 points, which is very low for him, but we're not freaking out at all. We're going to shop him. If you can put together a package with A.J. Dillon and Gabe Davis for Dalvin Cook, smash. We're smashing that. Justin Jefferson, start. Oh, my God. This is why we were ranking him as our wide receiver one all offseason. We were not ranking Cooper Kupp as our number one receiver this year. We've been banging and beating the Justin Jefferson drum all offseason. I've tried to draft him in my leagues because I have a YouTube channel and my friends watch. They took Justin Jefferson from me. But start Justin Jefferson. Try to trade for Justin Jefferson. We love Justin Jefferson on this channel. Adam Thielen, bench. Never loved Adam Thielen. He's kind of like a tight end to me. He's a touchdown upside. That's it. So I never liked Adam Thielen. I'm out on Adam Thielen. If you have no one else, you can start him. I do think he has a ceiling of like 20 points. So he does have a higher ceiling than most, but he has a very low floor. Not a fan. One sec. Irv Smith, bench, drop. All right. Jalen Hurts, hard start. Got Jalen Hurts in two of my leagues. Been drafting him all over the place. His rush shot is crazy. His connection with his new receiver is crazy. This offense is good. This defense, well, defense not that good. Offense is good. Plenty of opportunities at the goal line. Plenty of opportunities for pass and touchdowns. Good receiving core. Starting Jalen Hurts. We're using Miles Sanders as trade bait. Get him out of here if you can. Azar, you probably want to hang on to him, but if you can package him together with a Gabe Davis for an upgrade at the running back position, do that right away. I kind of see Miles Sanders as that Antonio Gibson player where he had a good first week, cash out now before it gets ugly. Kenneth Gainwell, I've dropped. We're benching. A.J. Brown, hard start. Devontae Smith, don't drop. We're stashing him on the bench, but we're definitely not starting him. Dallas Goedert is a hard start. So that is our first... I don't even know what that was. That was a trade advice video. That was a start sit video. That was a little bit of everything. So if you do like the video, please give a thumbs up. And I'll say one more time that we're going to do these types of videos on every Thursday right around this time. We're going to put it out around 6 o'clock. It'll give you some time to watch it while you're eating a little bit of dinner before the game. We'll continue to do this throughout the entire football season. And then Sunday mornings is when we're going to be a degenerate. We're going to get into some online DraftKings. We're going to get into some pick'ems. I have to check the guidelines between what they allow for me to put up on YouTube. I don't know if doing pick'ems is allowed on YouTube. I don't know if it's like gambling or what. I noticed some of the YouTubers that I watch don't post videos on that, but I would love to stream that. So I got to look into that a little bit before Sunday, but that's what we're doing. Every Thursday, look for this type of video. Every Sunday, look for our DraftKings pick'em type video. If you like the video, please like the video. If you enjoy the channel and the content and you're looking forward to this season, we are trying to help you win a tournament in your fantasy football league, whether it's a work league, a friend league, a family league. We're here to help to the best of our ability. So subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you get notified when we release a video and when we're live so you can come hang out. And the nice thing about us going live on Sunday morning is we can hop in here, ask questions. If you need some clarification on this video, just come into the chat, ask me live. If anything changes between now and Sunday, we'll get a new take on that. So other than that, I appreciate all the support. Appreciate all you guys. I'm really looking forward to week 2. It's going to be a really good game tonight. So get your popcorn, set your lineups, and I will see you Sunday. Peace out.